everyone. Welcome to episode, I think this is 62, 61 or 62, I'm not sure. And today we are talking with Dan Wells from illuminationwallart.com.
Hello.
.co.uk. Welcome to the show, Dan. This is awesome to meet you.
Hi, you guys too. Thank you for having me. I'm sorry it's been this late. I've just been insanely busy, but thank you for having me all the same. I really appreciate it.
We are two people who understand being busy. No worries. Go ahead, Lindsay.
I've just noticed the name. It's Dan Walls, and he does wall art. Is that
Yeah.
an accident?
The amount of people who ask me if I changed it for like a media perspective, I'm like, no, I'm actually called Dan Walls. I was born Dan Walls, and I could be Dan Dishwasher, but I thought, it's time for a change.
Happy coincidence. So Dan, how did you first get into art? I mean, were you always drawing as a kid? What were your inspirations?
Oh yeah, being very, very young, I was just painting and drawing from being little and getting really into it. And I was statement as dyslexic from the age of about 6, and so I was never going to be like academically brilliant. I'm okay now; I can get away with writing and reading and maths and all that stuff. But with art, I wasn't wrong. Nothing I did was wrong. Everyone enjoyed it. Everyone thought it was interesting, and I was cool. And I thought I like drawing. Drawing's what I want to be. So from being a kid, I was like, I'm going to be an artist, and everything that goes with it, how insane and horrible and crazy it can be, and frustrating. But I've done it. I'm alive. I'm making money. Started my business, Illumination Wall Art, about 12 years ago, painting large scale murals. I love doing that. That's my bread and butter, and it's the best. But on the side of that, I met Marty from Gabe's Cave, and I started doing sketch cards and then comic book covers, and now it's just opened this whole huge Pandora's box of possibilities for me, and I love it. It's just really good to get to meet guys like you and meet other artists and travel, and it's just great. It's really good fun.
It's an amazing community, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Really. So what kind of things did you like drawing back in the day? What was your favourite go-to?
A typical 80s kid drawing He-Man and Boglins and like monsters, garbage pail kids, generally anything on fire, anything with skulls and snot and blood, and Iron Maiden, Derek Riggs' artwork always got me into like wanting to draw and listen to heavy metal and punk rock. It was the time, being a little kid in that era, Ghostbusters, that sort of time was just solid, and there's never going to be another time like it. And I'm
isn't it amazing how a lot of the music album covers, when they actually had albums and covers to those albums for the vinyl records, how inspiring the artwork was for so many people who ended up being creatives. I mean, a lot of that art was truly hand done, and you could just look at those covers and be like, wow, that's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I remember the Iron Maiden cover where Eddie's coming out the ground and it's like a graveyard behind him. There's a little cat on a gravestone, and the colours, it's just awesome. I was always copying that. But when I was looking at your sketch cards earlier, I noticed you'd done Rocco's Modern Life.
Yeah.
And even the dudes from Sesame Street that go, you, those guys.
Puppets. I love Jim Henson. I grew up with like Kermit and the Muppets and Sesame Street and Oscar the Grouch, and the Yip Yip Aliens. That's so key in my mind as a child. That and like Dark Crystal, anything with like big horrible puppets or even fun daft puppets, like it's always stuck with me, and I love it. I think it's really fun.
I did notice you'd done the Skeksis as well, and that old bird who's only got one eye.
Yeah, Olgra.
Olgra,
yeah.
Oh, awesome. So can you tell us, how did you first set up your business doing murals? What led you to that path?
So what happened? I went to college and university to study fine art. I couldn't ever like find a path to go down, like a real solid thing like graphic design, or you're going to do illustration, or you're going to design matchboxes or whatever. I wanted to keep it like kind of open, so I could be like your typical kind of like artist, your Damien Hirst kind of guy, and I realised that was never going to happen. Went back home with my tail between my legs, started washing dishes, and then I started eventually started tattooing, got into tattooing, became an apprentice, built studios, fell out with tattooists because they're a nightmare. I was a teacher. I taught art for a few years. Got my teaching qualifications, and then on the side of that, I thought, what am I going to do at the end of this? 'Cause I didn't want to teach. It was never going to be my thing. I found it rewarding. Teaching kids was great fun, but it was too structured for me. I like to be able to get up every morning and do what I like, because that's just what I do. So I started thinking, what can I do to make a bit of money on the side of tattooing and doing all this teaching or whatever? And a friend asked me, can you paint something on my kids' rooms, like kids' bedroom walls? And one was Iron Maiden, Eddie coming out of the grave with the lightning from, what was it called? Best of the Beast, I think it was. No, a Real Live Dead one, that's what it was. And then Ben 10 on the other wall, so like, oh, that's quite cool. Get to do like cutesy cartoon one side and horror on the other. So I did that, realised there was money in it, put it on Facebook. Loads of people wanted me to come and do their kids' rooms. And then it was pubs and it was restaurants and bars, and I was like, okay. So I went to the Prince's Trust. They gave me a loan, and off I went.
What materials do you use for doing wall art? You mentioned earlier that a bit of spray paint, and I find it quite difficult to get, so you don't get drips and stuff.
Yeah. Spray paint is huge with me, especially doing outdoor stuff. I run a few legal graffiti walls in my town as well now, so that's all spray paint and graffiti related. But I found that, like, to cover a large area very quickly, you can just use a can and you just beast the whole area into a blue sky in about maybe 20 seconds, and then you put the clouds in by just dusting it lightly and finding different ways of working. But then I'm also very mixed media, though. I use sponges and I use markers and acrylic paint and Poscas, that kind of thing, depending on what I'm doing, because people ask me for all sorts of things. I could be doing like Minions one day, then I could be doing a football stadium the next. So it's a case of like finding what works and kind of sticking with it and then adapting it somehow. There's certain bits that like I don't like to do, but then there's some that I've always stuck with me and thought that's a really great idea, great technique,
So you seem to have been quite self-taught then, or did you go to school to learn this?
Yeah, I went to college for 3 years to learn fine art, and then I was at university in Leeds, where I recognise your accent from, kind of, from being around the Leeds area. But yeah, I studied fine art there, and I kind of picked up quite a lot of things along the way. But with the actual mural work, working big, that the spray paint thing is completely self-taught. But everything else, my mark making techniques and drawing supports, canvases, that kind of thing, that was all from experimentation when I was at college. My art tutor, Sheila Smithson, she's fantastic, by the way. She just said, oh, here, grab all this stuff and learn how to make marks, like drawing with drill bits and bits of grass and corn and your fingers, and just trying to see what works and documenting that, writing it down and seeing what works, like building textures and working on different walls and different drawing supports. It was just like a year of just messing around like a kid. It was great.
I remember I used to do wall art for a bit, and when you first go up a scaffolding, it's like, oh God. And then by the time you finished your job, you're swinging down it like a monkey.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I hate heights anyway, but like, yeah, after 3 weeks up a scaffolding tower, you're like, it's fine,
So, have you tried airbrush? Like you spray on a smaller scale.
I have, yeah. I paint miniatures sometimes, like Warhammer and D&D models and stuff.
Yeah.
I find with that though, it's too much of a faff on. Like, you got like your little gun, and you got your little needle in there, and your little pot of paint, and you clean it up, and you spray it. Then you got to like run it through, clean that up, get a new thing. And I'm just like, just gotta kind of just fucking do it, just beast it out. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a great art to it, and it's fantastic for very subtle shading and whatever, and working tiny. But it's just too much hassle. Like,
very noisy as well, and all the fumes. It's a bit. It's not relaxing, is it?
No, it's not so much tedious. You got to be very, very precious with it, and I find that just doing line work alone has that. So then adding the colour, there's no fun if you have to be the same kind of like cautious and precious over something, like to get it perfect. I'm like, nah, I can't be doing with it. It's just not really for me,
You actually have to clean your tools after. Well, that's just too much. I mean,
no, just buy cheap crap and throw it in the bin. Clog up your brushes and chuck them out. Go to Wilco and buy, pack for £3.
So, what was your introduction to sketch cards? How did you fall into that bucket of worms?
Got a friend called Fred Thomas who I met years ago, who's a fantastic guy. He sent me a link saying, "Oh, there's this thing called Gabe's Cave. It's a YouTube channel. They're looking for artwork for their intros for the videos." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I approached Marty at the time. I didn't know his name or anything. I said, "Oh, I'd like to put something in," because by that time I was painting murals of the Avengers, because that was kind of a big thing, you know, like Captain America and Iron Man and the Hulk. And I love the Hulk anyway. The Hulk's awesome. But I did a gambit, like a big gambit canvas, and I couldn't sell it. And I took photos, and I was like, "Oh, do you want this for your intro for your videos?" He goes, "Oh yeah, it'd be awesome. Do you want to do sketch cards?" And I was like, "Well, what are they?" And then he showed me a few of them. He said, "This is what he's going to do." He told me the layout of Gabe's Cave and how it was going to work, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll do some cards." Sent them in the post. Had a go. My first set wasn't brilliant, but I thought, well, it's me working small again. I'm going to try and see what happens. And now 4 years on, I'm just doing it. It's great.
Point. You've gone from huge to, and then it is an adjustment, definitely.
Oh, absolutely. It's like an accordion. It's just like big, small, every. But I like the challenge. It's interesting, you know, to try and it challenges me and it pushes me to try different things, and I can learn one thing from working big and another from working small, and trying to like switch that over is a really good process.
That working so small, when you go to working big again, you notice more details than you did before. You know, because you're used to looking at every tiny little thing, and then you go big again, and you're like, oh, suddenly I can see more. It's so weird.
Yeah, it is, but it's I think it's a great practice though to be able to do that, to transfer your skills from one set of things to another. It's really good.
What materials do you favour for your cards?
Cards. I'll show you Stationary Village real quick. This is what like Howard Moon's Stationary Village.
Oh, it's so pretty.
So I've got like the Copics. I got a set of Copics off a friend of mine who was flogging them really cheap, and I'm glad I did. Then I started using like Ohuhu, I think they're called, and then I discovered twin markers. These are great, right? Because they're alcohol markers, and they're dual ended. So you've got a chisel tip and a really small one. I'll show you these real quick. Can you see that?
What brand is it?
They're called Twin Marker. They're from Deco. I think it's Deco. But they're like, you can get these from B&M Bargains. And they're like 16 quid for a set of 60. And they're really, really good. They're like, when you don't want to use your Copics for everything and risk like running... Hold on, 2 minutes, this camera's been a nightmare. Oh. Forgot it. When you don't want to risk using your Copics for everything and then running out, you can use these, and they're just dirt cheap, and they're really, really good quality for what they are.
I agree.
So
I always go for like, you know, sets of cheap ones for mostly bright colours, because you can get the bright colours, and then, you know, something a bit more expensive for your muted.
Yeah, colours. For more subtlety, skin tones and stuff, Copics are better, I think. Yeah. Solid stuff as well. Posca are great for like doing like really thick blasts over the top, like force fields, outlines, dots, stars. Like Posca's just really solid because the paint pens, they're great.
Yeah. Awesome. So it's just marker and paint. You don't do any pencil crayon or?
I did on. Do you want me to show the one I did for Studio Thrip?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is. I'll show you the back. I'll show you again. So Studio Thrip, my friend Boonsat, this is his card set. It's Millennium Blood. This is his new set that's horror based. And I thought I'd look at old school horror, what freaked me out as a kid, and I remember The Ring just really scared me really badly when I was a teenager.
Awesome. That's gorgeous.
Recognize
with this kind of, I went with the pink on the eyelid. That was coloured pencil, and I never used coloured pencil, but I wanted real subtle tones to it, and I used Poscas at the bottom, but it bled everywhere. Like the flesh tone I was using went everywhere, so I cracked out a brush and started brushing it in, trying to fix my mistakes. And by a happy accident, it kind of worked. So the grey of the twin marker and the Copic mixed in with it to get that really blend nice under the eyelid. And I added more white, and then I just bashed loads of fine liner over the top and black marker to get the hair. And a gel ink pen, like a kind of a pink gel ink pen for the veins in the eyes.
That's gorgeous.
And it just worked. And it only took me about an hour, but like, I don't know, that just worked for me.
It's great when you have an accident and you find that it's like something useful. Like you'll find people who want to give up, and I'm like, no, just try and fix your mistake, because you might find a way to do it that's really helpful. Like,
absolutely, yeah. I find that with kids and people who aren't massively confident, they seem to think. Sorry, this camera. They seem to think like if you fail once, that's it, that's the end. And I'm like, nah, you just got to keep persisting, you know.
That's it.
The image, the camera is making me seasick.
I'm so sorry. I'll stop moving it now. I'm
It's
gonna
all
leave
right.
it where it is.
It's
It's
okay.
on a tripod, but it's just balanced just ever so precariously.
So
No,
you seem to be really making friends with like mixed media actually for your cards anyways.
Yeah, it's just the way I've always been. There's never kind of with me. There's never really been one way of doing it. My whole like childhood was experimentation because I was never going to be brilliant like academically. So it was like, oh, I'll just sit in the corner and play with some paint. And I thought through that I learned so much by just having fun. And all the other kids like they had no idea what was going on. I'd advanced them just by fannying about, for a couple of hours, And I was like, there's something in this. There's something that works with like for me in this way. There's a structure to it somehow. It's really interesting.
So what do you think? Are you going to continue on with murals constantly, or with your mixed projects, or are you trying to focus more on one and the other?
I'm at a stage now where I can't really quit the murals. It's what I'm known for, and it's what pays the bills and makes the money. The the cards on the side is great, and I do want to kind of push it further and start doing more comic book covers and see where I can go from there. Maybe later in my years, because I can't be up a ladder for the rest of my life in my 60s. I want to be able to like relax and sit at home because we're going to have a family soon, me and my wife. So I'd rather be a stay-at-home dad that paints cards on the night and does comic covers and that kind of thing. Maybe do the odd mural now and then on the weekend. But yeah, I'm thinking more about my future now and where I'm going, and I think it's going to go in the direction more of cards, but it's too early to say at the minute.
have you because I noticed you do a lot of cartoon work as well as the realism, which is awesome. Have you created any of your own characters or messed about with anything like that?
Yeah, what I do, like Dan Walls, the mural painter, is very different to Dan Walls, the bloke, because my sense of humour and down the pub with my mates, it's very grotesque and ridiculous. I'm going to try and show you this real quick. I started a comic book a long time ago called The Erotic Adventures of Space Ginger and Mucky Moon. And it's totally stupid, but I had the idea of like this is the Christmas picture, this Christmas edition of this comic I was working on. So Mucky Moon is pretty much just a moon, like a little asteroid, but he thinks he's a moon, and he's also a pervert.
Oh, awesome!
And he
Awesome.
floats around in space with
really cool.
a piece of ginger, like a ginger root that's sentient, and he lives in a bin. And they kind of hang out together
Oh my
and get
God.
into all sorts of mad adventures in space in their bin, the one-man vessel called the Sulo, which is just a wheelie bin.
That's amazing.
So
That is
when I get a
really
chance to just draw my own sort of stuff, it's like there's no point because it's insane. Over Christmas I thought I'll have a month off where I can work on my comic books, and I did like maybe about 4 or 5 pages and had to go back to normal, but it's just something on the back burner for me. This is just
When I
something.
was scrolling your page earlier, I mean, I showed Ingrid on my phone. I came across your asteroid, and I'm like, look, I was laughing my head off. That's great. Don't forget about it. It's awesome.
Oh, I never will. It's just I don't know if I could get a comic book company to go, oh, here you go, here's X amount of money, make this a thing, and I would be over the moon. But I'm like, really, someone would buy this? It's
You may have to create it and produce it yourself.
that's what I'm thinking, and there's time involved with that, and money, and the whole process behind it, and I don't know. This is Space Ginger, that character there. That's a piece of ginger there. Who's the main character? And this is Kinky Crab.
Oh, I love it.
The third member of the group is a bondage crab called Kinky Crab.
Awesome. That's right
Yeah,
up my
you know,
street. Like,
Nickelodeon will be buying it next week.
mate, I would so definitely buy that. It's right up my street.
Yeah, my own characters. There's a mug with I did this kind of orangutan guy on it.
Oh, awesome. Oh my
So
God.
I drew that. He's more in the graffiti style. That it was a design that never got used. So I thought I'll just keep him for like stickers and
So
for
cool.
mugs and stuff. Just merchandise if it ever comes down to that. But
yeah, if you look at the state of this cat, like making
oh,
shoes.
that cat's class.
But yeah, well, it wasn't expensive to get them made.
Yeah.
Like No, I mean, I only got 20 of them. I think it cost about 100 quid, but they're really cool and the
That's
sell.
awesome.
Then like yours sounds hilarious. I'd definitely buy it.
I've written it, and it's quite, I don't know, there's quite a lot of like quite serious writing in it, but then it just goes to juvenile like humor, and
Yeah.
I like quite like the, you know, the fact I can flex as like, oh, I'm a really good writer, I can write all this amazing stuff, it's really poetic and powerful, and then it's just, you know, then there's a dick joke, you know, it's ridiculous, you know.
Found.
That sounds like
Yeah, just
something you should
silly.
really produce on your own, and you know that's something that you can work with. You can publicize it, sell it as you want because it's your property. It
Yeah,
might be worth putting your time into it, maybe.
I think so. I think this exists because I have to do all the murals and paint minions and like Disney or whatever. And then on the other side is me wanting to let something out so I can just have these ridiculous counterculture characters, these punk rock lunatic characters, because that's just a side of me wanting to just get it out so I can be normal.
Could be
The
a
dark
card.
side of you.
I'm doing a Kickstarter at the moment called Die Rabbit Die, where all these rabbit characters just mutilate each other. And I didn't think anyone would be interested, but you know, it's been funded like what 4 times over.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah. I mean, my amount wasn't high, but the amount of support I've gotten has been really surprising. You think no one's going to be interested. No one
Yeah.
knows these characters. You don't get much feedback on social media. You think, oh well, I might just let it die. But honestly, like, I wouldn't stop doing those. I think they're hilarious.
I think eventually, like once I've kind of done a few more comic covers and maybe like helped out with someone's comics, then it could like once I get kind of a name there, like say
Mm.
if I've worked with someone who's quite a good like you know, someone's who's quite big, they could be like, oh yeah, by the way, this guy's doing his thing, and I could get people to chip in that way, you know, be part of someone else's Kickstarter, like with Marty's doing a thing at the minute, the Legend of Maynard Lake. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. So Gabe's Cave have started their own comic book, The Legend of Maynard Lake, and it's just those the guys from Gabe's Cave out fishing, and then there's a lake monster. I don't want to like spoil it, but they're doing loads of variant covers for it. So they sent blanks out, and certain artists like myself and friends of mine, they've all done a cover, and that's going to go on their Kickstarter in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, very cool.
So it's like a stretch goal sort of thing that's happening with them. So I'm hoping that way I can actually get my name on a comic book cover, and then be like, oh, by the way, I've done comics, just to try and sort of I don't know headbutt my way into that into that kind of market, you know.
Sounds like a plan. You mentioned before we started recording, you mentioned something about a company in France that does
Studio Swift,
is it?
wasn't it?
Is that
Yeah, that's Thwip. Yeah.
Thwip?
The Studio Thwip. Yeah, check these guys out on
Yeah.
Instagram. Studio Thwip are great.
Right.
My friend Filmsat. This is his
Well,
new
I saw
series.
it. It's in French on top, félicitations. Everything else
Yeah,
is
it's French. He's also is he Cambodian? I think he's French Cambodian because each card. I'll just show you a blank real quick. Each card comes with like the little flag at the bottom. That's like his trademark.
Okay. Yeah.
Is it Cambodia? I think.
No, I
They'll
don't.
kill me.
We're not up on flags.
I know. I'm gonna say he's French Cambodian, but I don't want to upset him. So there you go. Sorry, Phil, if I got it wrong.
We'll
Does he
find out more.
admin in any groups? Because I recognise his name.
Yeah, he kind of crept up. Like when I was doing the Games Cave bits and putting that on there, I started joining like all the groups on Facebook for like sketch cards, and it just was one of these things. He was like, "Oh, do you want to draw some cards?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Draw whatever you like. Here's the first set, and I'll pay you X amount." And I was like, "Okay." And then we got talking, and he's a really nice guy, and it turns out that Marty knows him, and like you guys have heard of him, and I don't know. Like I said, our little world's quite small, but it's so dense. There's so many people that do what we do, and it's just great to like have that community.
Oh, everyone just supports each other and helps each other, the best they can. If
Yeah,
they're looking,
absolutely.
say, here or there, or this might suit you. No, it's awesome. It is.
It
I
really
can't
is.
imagine there's much of a wall art community going on.
Oh, you get that. There is a wall art community. You get the guys. I work with half of them anyway. You get egos, obviously. There's the guys who think they're better than everybody else, but they soon just die off anyway. The guys who can't paint and who
So there
think
really
they can
is
start
a
business.
wall art community. You are you a big group or?
Yeah, So I run a legal graffiti wall in my town in Bishop Auckland. We were donated spaces by a restaurant called the Smokehouse. The whole side of their building is just up for grabs. So I kind of curate it, make sure there's nothing offensive on there, nothing too like over the top. And then different artists come from all over the place and just paint bits on there. They ring me up, ask can I have a space, and then we just allocate wall space and then kind of alternate it for different guys. So it's been really good. I did it kind of by myself at the start, but now I've got like maybe 12, 15 friends, and we go up and down the northeast doing community projects. We did one in Middlesbrough. We turned the whole like back alleyway into like an art gallery, and then a communal space where we put like planter boxes and seating and bits for the kids, that kind of thing. We do that every now and then. We try and do one a year to try and like help out local communities. But yeah, if you look up Bish Vegas Legal Graph, that's our like graffiti what we call it, incentive, street art incentive.
Oh, okay. That's really amazing. I did not realize there was all this this community around wall art. I know so little about it. Have you done any conventions of any kind?
No, we've planned them. There are guys that plan them to do it, but like with me being so busy doing like actual paid work, like paid commissions, I don't want to allocate time to it because and there's also a lot of egos with it as well. Like a lot of guys who run it will have you there to see what you're doing, not to try and one up you or whatever, or they'll use your artwork to advertise their event without putting your name on it. And I'm like, I'm not about that. I'd much rather artists had a place to like show their work and also make an area like Bishop look better. So those are my two main things, like make the area look nicer, give artists a platform. That's like my main goals, rather than get too into it and deal with people who are like big-headed or whatever. It's not really my thing. I just want to be quiet, out the way, producing great art, and off I go.
Absolutely. Have you done any comic book conventions before?
I did York convention with my friend Luke, who's Never City Creations. He's got loads of comics out there, and he's been in the game for ages. I just sat next to him and started drawing pictures and helping him out. But I drew a few cards and sold them on, and I swapped them for Batman comics, which was kind of cool. Like my very first convention, so that was really good fun. I'd love to do more. Now I've got like the banner and stuff, and like a few bits behind me. I want to try and do a few of the local ones and just kind of see what happens.
There's Unleashed events coming up in February 12th.
Yeah, they've got them all over, haven't they, Unleashed?
Yeah. Me and Carolyn Craggs, we do a lot in the north with them.
Yeah.
That's always good fun. It's nice to meet some of the celebrities as well. I met Chris Barry last time. It was so ace.
I saw your picture with Chris Barry. That's awesome.
That was my profile picture with the nostrils. Honestly, such a nice guy. Like, I can't say.
You guys should. Well, with you, Carol, with you, Lindsey, Carolyn, and then Dan, you could have your own little sketch card thing from.
Well, yeah, it's like Don was saying earlier. Never heard of sketch cards, and it's like, how do you get the word out that they even exist? Because once artists find out they exist, they really enjoy them. I mean, I don't know about you, but I get bored of working on the same picture for days and days. And sketch cards, it's just yay.
That's it. It's like therapy. You can just do it in an hour and feel so much better about yourself, you know.
Yeah. And the variety, I love variety. Me, I love doing cartoon, realism, whatever. Like, you can just fit so much in.
That's it. That's the good thing about Gabe's Cave and about like Studio Thwip. They'll pretty much let you do whatever. You know, they'll give you like a rough idea of what they're after, then you can do like whatever you like. It's great to kind of do that. If you do want to do conventions, let me know. If you're anywhere like up here or whatever, I'll gladly jump in with you guys. Just good to go and check it out and see what response I get. You know.
Totally. Oh, it'd be awesome. So much
fun. Sketch card community is getting stronger in the UK.
Yeah, awesome.
It'd be cool to have like a proper setup, like a proper table with sketch card artists there, and like people to inform people that they exist and what they are. And I just think it's the best way to collect art. You don't need a proper bit of space on your wall or anything. Put it in a folder, and you can just sit and just look at all the different styles. And you don't
need mountains of money either. You know, like you're helping somebody out. You're chucking them 20 quid here and there just to like get them known. And the biggest thing you can do is put someone out on social media. Just show people what you can do on Instagram or whatever. I think that's like huge for artists. You know.
that brings up something. Has social media been a real plus for you? Like, has it helped your career, or is it something you just use because everybody else uses it?
No, I think now to be an artist in this day and age, you're going to have to learn how to use social media. You have to learn something about marketing. I'm really lucky because my wife is a fantastic marketer. She works for a marketing company, works in cybersecurity, and she's helped me enormously with my website and pushing the murals. The sketch card thing's kind of a little like an undertow of what I do, but the main thing is getting my work out there with my murals because obviously they're big and everyone sees them, but it's like no one will see like Sunderland Football Club, for instance. There's thousands of people walking through there every day to go on the match. They'll never look at my mural there and think, "Oh, I wonder if we can do kids' rooms." So, in order to do that, they have to be able to see a variety, or you have to show them exactly what they're thinking. It's so hard to try and like get people's immediate response, but on social media, it's great because if you can see you 4 or 5 times in a day, that'll just completely cement you in their minds, and that's the way to do it. Like, writing blogs is great as well for getting yourself found on Google. That's all my wife. That's all Liv just saying, right, write this out. I'll sort you the keywords out. And from that, I've been able to put myself on different websites, get backlinks, and that's helped me enormously with being able to like market myself. And I know it sounds corporate and disgusting. You're supposed to be a bohemian, cool artist, but nowadays you've got to be able to put yourself out there because you'll be left in the dust, you know.
Which social medias do you use besides Instagram?
Let me think. I've got Facebook, I've got Twitter, I've got Instagram, YouTube. I don't really do a lot on YouTube, but it's there. Trying to think what else. I use them quite a lot. I've started using Twitter a lot more. Twitter's become a lot more fun now. Now that all the bots have gone, you can start to reach a lot of people. It's great to kind of get once again communities on there as well. You can like talk to other artists.
Yeah,
I once did a Deadpool commission, and Rob Liefeld liked it, and Vaughn Board liked one of mine, and I'm like, you know, to find people like that is enormous. Like guys who you respect. What was he called? Oh, what was he called? The Star Wars artist, Colin Cantwell, who recently passed. I did a Baby Yoda mural, put it on Instagram, and he goes, "Love that. Check out my work." And I was like, "Oh, who's this old guy?" I saw pictures of him at like conventions with all these Princess Leia girls in cosplay or whatever. Well, he's living his life. This guy checked out his website, designed the Death Star and the X-wings, and I'm like, I was like, oh my god! I was like, oh my god, thank you so much, and I was shocked. I nearly cried. I'm like, oh my god, like the original designer from Star Wars likes my shitty mural of Yoda, and I was like blown away by that, and that gave me a huge boost, you know.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's incredible.
That actually touches on something. We're going to be having an episode that touches a little bit on that, but the legalities of using licensed characters for things like that. Way back, plugging the podcast here, but way back in the beginning, we had an interview with Stephen J. Sansweet, who was talking about fan art and Lucasfilm and how they approach it. And they actually don't mind to a point. Of course, mustn't go overboard and be silly about it, but they actually don't mind so much when people use the Star Wars characters and create awesome things. And what you've just said pretty much clarifies that, well, hey, you know, somebody from the Star Wars who created part of the, you know, a designer from there loved what you did on the wall. That's so awesome.
It's amazing. It's like
they're not going to put you in jail for it. They actually like it, you know.
On that regard, though, you have to ask yourself how much more money and how much more of the market did Disney want? Like, when are they going to stop? Because I can come up.
That's a bit different, though. Lucasfilm and Disney, they're. I'm probably getting myself in trouble here, but they're. I don't think they're. You know, one came. Well, they each have their own origins, and I guess they're connected now.
Yeah.
But you know, there are still things I think that are not. I don't know. Anyways, please.
Yeah, it's so strange because like I can draw my own characters. I can draw like, you know, whatever really. It doesn't have to be Mucky Moons and Space Gingers or whatever. But like you can draw your own characters and like, but when's that going to ever get any kind of like spotlight on it. When you've got Minions and you've got Star Wars and you've got, all this kids, like especially kids, they're saturated with all this stuff that comes from movie companies. Like, and how much money is enough money for these guys? Because I think if they come after you, then I don't understand that. That's a really scummy way to be. They own theme parks. It's like, are you not making enough money? Can people not enjoy what you do and like keep that going? Because all that does is advertise. Oh, if I paint Winnie the Pooh, all that's doing is advertising their product. Really?
That's exactly what the other man on the interview said. It's basically free advertising. Unless of course you're like really printing out tons and truckloads of stuff and selling it, that's different.
Of course, yeah.
I've noticed at conventions, like people have got like their own stuff there, but they will do fan art because it brings people over because they go, "There's something I recognise," and then they end up looking at their own stuff. It's you kind of have to have that draw, don't you? That familiarity.
Yeah, you need your curb appeal, and of course Minions is going to give you kids looking at it or whatever, But your own stuff, like, it was so different. Like I said, like years ago, like what Ingrid was saying about album art, like record sleeves. You didn't know what they sounded like. The art looked proper cool. There was no internet to be able to do a quick review before you bought it. You thought, that's cool. That my money's going on that. And the album, the music could have been garbage, but the artwork was mint. That's what sold it. So why can't we have something like that? Why can't we, I don't know, have it on good merit that our art will sell because it's just awesome,
We interviewed Floyd Sumner, didn't we? And he did the artwork for Green Jelly album covers.
Oh, that's so cool.
I know. Like, I remember them.
Yeah, Green Jelly are great.
Yeah. But I remember the album art a bit more.
We used to cover the Three Little Pigs song. Me and the bands in Bishop, they all used to get up and do that, like, with the little pigs. Yeah, Green Jelly are great.
That was awesome. It was just like, wow, what a small world.
I'd forgotten about that. That's pretty amazing.
Going back to Disney, have you seen their business plan? How they do?
No, I've never looked into it.
If you look on Google, you'll see how everything feeds into each other. How they make money off stuff and repurpose it, and it's fascinating. Yeah. It's no wonder they've got so much money. Like,
because wasn't Pinocchio kind of coming into public? What was it? The public domain, and then the remake. That's why the remake stuff, isn't it? There's public domain after 25 years, and that's why they do all the live action remakes. So it just regurgitates it so they can keep the licensing.
Thing is, a lot of Disney, a lot of it's ripped off anyway from old fairy tales and whatever. It's not even theirs to begin with, They just repurpose it for whatever they want to use it for. So, the names will always be available. It's just their character designs.
Yeah, so that's it. I mean,
Cinderella, they can't tell you not to call it Cinderella.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, what do you call it? The Lion King's pretty much Macbeth, and then it's Kimber the White Lion just mixed together.
Yeah. Totally. Like I mean, it's kind of, they would be very cheeky to try and stop anybody from, doing their own version of the old tales. That's all they're doing. So.
Yeah. I guess as long as it doesn't look like the design, because I suppose that is their property and stuff. But the old folklores, fairy tales, the old books and all that stuff. I mean, I forget what it is, but I think the old book of Gilgamesh is actually the foundation for many movies and things like that.
Yeah, the hero's tale, is it?
Hero's tale, that's Gilgamesh.
Right. Yeah.
We are going to start heading out already, unfortunately. Is there anything that we haven't asked that you would like to add? There's so many things I would have liked to have gone on and talked more about, especially about your tools, but we'll have to have you back on.
I'll be more than happy to come back. Yeah, no problem. Just trying to think. What am I doing? I'm working on Garbage Chute Droids.
Please.
I'll show you. I'll show you a fair few
about that.
I'll show you a fair few of what I got so far. Hang on a minute. So, Garbage Chute Droids, pretty much a mashup of the Garbage Pail Kids and the Star Wars droids. I've only done a couple so far. That's kind of a new set of what I'm doing. Mainly all 3PO at the minute because I'm just trying to get things mixed in.
Your cartoon works great. I love it.
Cheers. There's
So how did you get
Grievous.
into this particular set, the Garbage Chute Droids? How did you get into it?
I went on to Instagram and found them on there and just asked the guy. I just messaged him. I was like, "Oh, can I draw some cards?" And I showed him what I'd done before, and he was like, "Yeah, of course, crack on." So that was great. I'm doing the Babes of Retro season 2.
Oh,
Um,
Super Metroid.
Yeah, Samus was a big character from my past when I was a kid. So I thought for like Babes of Retro, like 80s kind of babes, did her, and I've done Katara.
nice.
Very cool.
Here's one. Here's one. Do you recognize her?
Oh, I don't actually. I don't.
Do you remember Space Raiders, the crisps?
I feel like I'm missing something.
Which that was actually on Space Raiders.
Yeah, she was Astra from Space Raiders like years ago. Like there were sorry Ingrid, there were a corn snack that we have over here in the dirt cheap, and they're like little alien faces. They
Oh.
changed the branding to have the alien faces on the front, but she was like a comic book character called Astra, who would steal them, and I think they used to use them as currency or whatever the hell it was. But I found her and I was like, I've got to draw Astra.
What's your favourite flavour of Space Raider?
Pickled onion, all the way.
Oh no, wait, beef. It's so.
No, pickled onion, dude.
I have to send you
Same with
something.
Monster Munch, pickled onion.
No idea what you guys are talking about.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, just
Do you
know
have
a terrible food that we have here.
Do you have Freddos in Canada?
Fritos, I think it is.
Freddos, no?
Well, I don't know where I live. I know Fritos, they're corn chips.
No. You don't have. I'm gonna have to send you some Space Raiders and a Freddo.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll send you some stuff
Okay.
over. Yeah. Did you ever have the vanilla flavour Monster Munch?
No. What?
Yeah, there was vanilla flavour. And they tasted great, but they were so weird because you would like eat it and you expect pickled onion or salt and vinegar or whatever, but it's vanilla. It was like eating like ice cream. It was weird.
So weird. I'm actually disappointed I didn't get to try that. That sounds so odd.
I had them in a pub in Aycliffe like ages ago, and they were really good. I think that's the only time I ever found them.
Oh, it's annoying when they bring something out and then take it away again when it was really nice.
Ribena ooh.
All I remember when I was a kid, we had Fritos, we had the Bugles, we had Pop-Tarts, we had we had so many things that I don't really remember now. It's been so long ago. But yeah,
We've had bugles here. The bugles were really good. I remember, like little like crisps with holes in them.
yeah.
They were so good.
They were like, you know,
The
horn.
horn, yeah.
Yeah, I ate those things like crazy. Oh my God, I ate those things. Anyways, so you are on Garbage Chute Droids. It's going to turn into a food podcast in a minute.
That's by our friend Brett, isn't it? The Garbage Chute Droids.
Yeah, Garbage Chute Droids, Babes of Retro 2, Ultraman when Richard sends them out, Gabe's
Okay.
Cave again, and Studio Thwip. I'm trying to think who else. There's a few different cards, but yeah, that's I'm up for all sorts. Just fire them over. I'll see what I can do.
Okay. Well, you're going to be on my upcoming trading card set. I'm going to send you an invite for that.
Oh, thank you. I'd love to do that. That'd be fantastic.
Well, I want to also poach him for if I do sketch cards in the future. 'Cause I think
Well, you will. You've got sets coming up, so you know.
I think I'm going to stay UK based, and I'm primarily looking for people who can cartoon well. So yes,
I've got lots of friends who are llooking for work. I'll put them onto you.
For which,
Not soon, not yet.
Okay.
but are you willing to disclose which set you're going to be looking for, or is
I
that?
don't yet. I don't know, but I know like if I do the sketch cards, they've got to be cartoons.
Yeah.
Because all my sets are going to be cartoon. I don't think I'm going to release any realism ones because it's just not as fun.
You got to do what's fun. Stay true to your heart. Okay. Where can people find you, Dan?
Yeah, I'm Illumination Wall Art. You can find me on pretty much all social medias. I'm predominantly more on Instagram and Facebook, but I'm on Twitter. My website is illuminationwallart.co.uk. Just let me know what you want, and I'll see what I can do.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for having come on. It was really great to meet you. You're basically a newcomer, I think, sort of. How many years have you been with sketch cards now? Maybe
3, 4, maybe. Something like that, off and on.
kind of like Lindsey. How many years has it been for you, Lindsey?
First Star Wars set I did, I think it was either 2018 or 2019. I can't remember.
So you guys are pretty similar, actually. You're babies in the field, and all right then. Well, you are definitely coming back on later this year.
I would love to.
Do you do any sketchbook stuff, by the way? Do you like
I'll just show you real quick. My sketchbooks are pretty much just a giant scrapbook of just insane
All right,
bullets that I never get to finish.
Okay, keep that under wraps. You're going to come back on our sketchbook episode.
Please have me on. Yeah, I can show you what I do.
Great. I'll make a little note of that. Sorry, doing this on air, but hey, what you going to do, sketchbook? All right. There you go. So thank you again, everyone. Check the show notes below for the links to everywhere Dan Walls can be found. Any last words or advice or anything?
Thank you so much for having me on, ladies. It's been great. Anything you need, just give me a shout. I'll try and do my best to help out.
We will do that. All right.
So, Dan.
Much love. You guys take care. Thank you.
You too.